I know what you're thinking. No, you did not miss anything. If you need me to show you how to take a fucking tire off, don't do this at home. And say hi to Flama.
What up?
So we're doing the upper and lower control arm bushings today. This is going to be fun, because I've never done this before. I have no clue how to do this. I've watched a total of 2 videos, neither of which show doing the lower, and that's the one I'm most scared about. Terrified of, you name it. Remember to jack up your car, chocks, parking brake, jack stands, tire under the frame, just in case the jack stand breaks, it'll still catch it. Jack's also resting on the frame. Multiple levels of precaution here. Very professional environment that I live in.
You know, if we did have a professional environment,
This would be on a lift, yeah. But this chair is pretty comfortable. Alright. I guess. So, I'm just gonna go right out here and say this. That's not stock, that's not what yours is gonna look like. I broke mine and was too cheap to go find the right bolt and went to the hardware store. Okay, yeah, so as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, your pinch bolt will not look like this. I broke mine off for reasons unexplainable and replaced it with this one I got at the local hardware store. Probably not the best fix, but I think the torque spec on it's only like 20 foot-pounds, so any mild steel bolt will do. So the first thing we're going to have to do is get this bolt off here and get the knuckle with the upper ball joint separated from the control arm, and then work on getting those 2 bolts off, this one and this one. I happened to watch a video by Chris Fix and noticed that that bolt over there is not going to clear that, so we're going to have to make some room there. Big ass cutoff wheel and a hammer should work. I'll get back to you. Step 1. $18mm in case you're wondering. Cool. Big hammer's your friend. I mean, separate the ball joint from the control arm, like so. Done. The next step is you're going to want to eventually tie this up in some way, shape, or form that it's not going to hang on your brake line or anything like that. And you're going to want to remove those clips. They're just held in like so. And the one on the top here is one of those little, can you zoom in a little bit on that? It's one of those really weird GM clips that you just kind of stick a screwdriver in and hope that it comes apart. Like most stuff GM, there you go. So these 2 bolts here are supposed to be 21mm. However, I have a 13/16 that just so happens to fit, and that's good because that's really convenient for this. We're gonna pretend like that didn't just happen. As you can tell, I probably should not be doing this right now. Finals week got me like... We've been doing this for 5 minutes and I already quit. Yeah, that explains why once it started moving, it got harder to move.
Yeah.
So the good news is, once you break it free a little bit, it'll come out relatively easily. Now, I did not spray this with PB Blaster weeks in advance. Being completely honest with you, this is probably the first time this thing's coming off since the truck was built. Just make sure you don't get it stuck like I just did. Okay, it's loose now. Yeah, I guess it is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's...
It deserves to be replaced. It's lived a good life. All right. So we've come to the executive decision that we're gonna remove the fender liner for this next part. So like 15 minutes ago, we decided we would pull the inner fender liner by pulling these clips off. I didn't realize that there's a hidden clip back there, and 5 was my cutoff for it being a simple enough thing to do. I'm not fighting with a 6th one. So we're not doing that. So we gotta figure out how to notch this part here so that we get that bolt out. And I'm thinking big hammer and a chisel. So after the 3rd executive decision, we realized that the chisel was not going to work because there was no way to get at it good. So, grinding stone. Okay, so after the grinding went to shit, pry bar. Bend it out of the way. That works, right? Now we have plenty of clearance. Okay, well, we got it out. Surprisingly, isn't that bad. You know, judging by the amount of slop I had driving around, I would have thought it was worse. I mean, there's a little bit of a gap here on the front. Moves a little bit, but it's not too bad. Alright, so the next step is press these fuckers out.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. You cut it. Okay, so if you've noticed, I put this in because I wanted to figure out how to do it beforehand and fight with it and learn from my mistakes. So that way you only see me fight with it for a little while instead of like an hour. But anyway, we're going to start tackling the lower one now. And well, here it goes. I'm going to assume we have to take off the axle, not and have the movement of the axle. So, here we go. Okay. 21 mil. Tie rod end also has to come off. Also 21 mil. Control arm, sway bar. Wonder where that bolt came from. These two bolts, this one, maybe it's three. It might be three. These three bolts. That one, that one, that one. Come out, and then this should just slide out. So, my cameraman left. Basically, you missed me fighting with that bracket to, it's really out of focus. You missed me fighting with that bracket to get the old bushings out. You won't have that issue. Actually, you probably will. I believe when you order it, it comes with a new bracket, so you don't really have to worry about that. But now I'm going to tighten up those 3 bolts that I took out before. The torque spec is 196 foot-pounds. The other thing I did was those holes there. I kind of just like took a picture of where it was when I took it off and just kind of got it back close when I did it, because that is part of the alignment. So I just made it close to where it was, and that way when I torque those bolts up, hopefully it'll drive moderately straight. So the next step is going to be getting the actual control arm back into place. I just pushed it down under the frame and out of the way. I'm going to try and do this. So after fighting for a while with that bracket, I got the bolts on. The torque spec is 81 foot-pounds according to my manual. .33 foot-pounds on the tie rod end. So on the sway bar and link, that is also a even 100 pounds. I think it's actually 91, but they always loosen up, so it can't hurt to go a little bit tighter. It's 20 foot-pounds on that one, but just make it tight. Last thing, clip your wires back. And that one down there, but I gotta break that clip off. Open. You'll leave yours open. Other than that, axle nut. Be back with a second. For this, I always like to put a little bit of Loctite. A little dab will do you. Axle nuts scare me. I believe the torque spec on this is about 35 foot-pounds. However, I usually go infinitesimally greater than that by about another 2 or 3 times. But I'll put the correct torque spec in the link. Wow, there isn't even a lock nut ability left in this. That's lovely. So basically, you're gonna wiggle these into place, get them kind of lined up, and then just stick your bolts in. I have to put a washer on because polyurethane. Give me 1 second. Then it's just a matter of tightening them up and torquing them. My battery in my camera is about to die, but I'm pretty much done for the night. I believe the torque specs are at 100 foot-pounds. I don't have a crow's foot, I think I said this earlier, so I'm just going to make it really tight. Things I may have forgotten to show yesterday. Moving the lower control arm out of the way. Once the bolts are out, it's just a matter of doing a little tug. And then pushing it down and out of the way, which is kind of hard to demonstrate. But something like that is good. Just tuck it out of the way for the lower bracket to come out with. Next I'll show you how to pull out the lower bracket. Update. Lower control arm bolts are out. Sans one issue. So back there, there's supposed to be a nut here. However, that happened when I took the bolt out. So that's what I've got. I have absolutely no idea what I am going to do to remedy that issue. But I guess I could show you how I took out the lower control arm. Big ass hammer. Get it loose. Have to beat on it a few times. Little fucking shit out of it. And it'll just slide out basically. Except if you're a dumbass like me and leave your lower control arm in the way. Hold on. So as you can see here, it's not that it's a problem coming out, it's just it's hung up. It slid up when I was yanking on it, and it moved the lower control arm so that it's just wedging it. I'll just have to push that down and out of the way. Or lift. You get the idea. $7. That fixes that problem. I was able to torch the old bolt out of the nut So now I just have to get it back up in there. But so before I go putting this back together, something I learned from beating the other side on, when the control arm gets put on and you tighten down the bolt, it crushes these together so that it rests tight up against the bushing. So to make your life a little bit easier, you can simply tap them with a hammer and make it a little bit wider so it slides back on, and then when you tighten it down with the bolt, it's just going to compress it right back to the bushing. That way you don't have to beat the living daylights out of it with a hammer like I did for like a half hour. And also, I recommend not tightening up the bracket.
He tried a million things to try to get it to slow down, and he also to make it cheap, okay? So it's not even like once he gets there, he could just blend in, because his colors are popping up, and he can't look like a smacked ass when he's walking the street, right? So he looks around and he sees on his straight surface, he sees a father thing. Like a college kid, you know? And when you have that jack back there, a little place you can slide it in with a college kid, and he goes, well, what's that? Well, there's one Bobby thing, there must be another, and a little girl's room, right? And there he is, half dressed, going and looking his niece to the store, and all of a sudden,
You get the idea.
there's a happy ending because he pulls shower possible in the South on Thursday. Southbound after 28, blocking the lane and watch for midday construction. Leaving New Jersey on the Delaware Memorial Bridge is blocking the right lane. Traffic every 15 minutes. Next report is 12:18. I'm out of Wall Street on New Jersey. Claims that the movie Rocky was based on his story.
That was never proven, or he never won that case. But Sylvester Stallone. Important documentary or any important series where there's a tremendous voiceover announcer, narrator, it's Lee Truss.
Okay.
He is.
Nobody notices that stuff but you. Every once in a while, I notice it.
Danny says,
One thing I'd recommend, after doing a bunch of work like this, you know, you've been grabbing the rotors, moving them around and stuff, just grab some acetone, brake clean, give the surface a little wipe down, just to get any grease off that you may have gotten on it. And just repeat for the other side. Drilled and slotted because race truck. Alright. So, get everything tightened back up. Just gonna take it for a little shakedown drive. See how everything feels. Right away, needs an alignment. Wheel is not even close to being straight. lot of wobble. A lot of hop going around turns. But the wheel feels tight, which is good. Pull to the right. A little bit. If you let go of the wheel, it pulls to the right. If you just leave your finger resting on it, it's good. Doesn't sound like anything's falling off the truck, which is a good thing. There's a pretty significant amount of binding. Alright. So from here, don't look too bad until you do that. That's when you realize it's not even close. So we're gonna fix that. So, since my alignment is so off and I really am terrified to drive it anywhere other than around the neighborhood, I've kind of got an idea on how I can adjust it to at least make it so that I can get it to an alignment shop. Basically, what I did was I measured from the second tread from the inside with a tape measure in the back. Since it's a solid rear axle, that should be pretty freaking straight. And then I can snap a line across on the front here and figure out just how off it is, and I can kind of bring in those lower brackets to get it kind of in the ballpark. So what I've done now is put the truck back up on jack stands. And what I'm going to do is,
proud to serve East Brunswick.
Now the truck's on jack stands. First thing I've done, get behind the steering wheel, get it pretty close to being straight, and then came out, loosened up the bolts on this lower control arm here, the bracket I mean, and I started kind of pushing in on it to get the tire relatively straight. So basically what I'm shooting for is I'm gonna kind of crust around the side here. I want it to be, you know, relatively straight up and down. And then I'm just gonna do one of these. Since it seemed like it was out a little bit side to side, I'm gonna push in ever so slightly with my feet. Go back and check that the steering wheel is still straight. which it is. So right now, all I'm looking for is to go across the front of the tire here and look at where we are on the tread width, which is about, we'll say 59 and 7/16. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing on the back side of the tire. And basically, if we get about the same measurement, the tires are relatively straight. There isn't really too big of a toe issue, which is kind of what I'm hoping for. So we're significantly further out. So now that I've made sure the steering wheel's straight, I'm gonna come under here. And if you look, you got these two spots here and here. That's for the front and rearward movement of the control arm. So what I'm going to do is get my pry bar up in there and move the control arm in a little bit in the back and push it back out a little bit in the front, like so. And then we're going to take some measurements again, and the whole goal is to get the tires front and back measurement on the tread to be pretty freaking close. I tightened down the other side, so I'm going to go measure that right now real quick, and I'll get back to you. I stand corrected. Pushing in the rear part of the control arm bracket actually makes it so that the ball joint on the steering, I can't think of the word right now, but the part for the steering that attaches to the hub assembly, it actually pushes the back of the tire out further. So what needs to happen is the front needs to get moved out until it's straight. So, what's probably going to happen is you're going to realize that these are tight as shit. But with a little bit of force, you should be able to get it to move, which I can, but I'm going to make this a little bit easier on you. To get the proper angle of the dangle, you can use a bigger wrench. And if I can remember how this works. Okay, I am a retard right now. Get more leverage by sticking a bigger wrench in the end of it. And I am tightening it. For the sake of time, I am going to speed this up like in post.
Yeah, I hope you will.
Because
I don't think anybody's gonna want to sit here for 4 minutes watching you untighten, loosen one fucking bolt.
Yeah,
I'm just glad I didn't get hit with the drift stand.
yeah, it was just sitting there. And there was a crowd of people around it. I was waiting for it to attack.
Yeah. We need to do this the hard way because roadkill.
Now it fell into the abyss.
So it's in the frame somewhere now. It's
Yeah,
loose though.
It's really not that bad.
Okay, put it back on.
Yeah, right? It passes the shake test. We don't need to do this anymore.